Welcome to Edtech Monday. This is a platform for education technology discussions, and we have a focus on policymakers, entrepreneurs, and educational ecosystem. Comes your way on the last Monday of every month. This is a November edition, and today we have a very exciting topic, Bridging the Gap EdTech Solutions for Rural Education. We'll be right back with our panel and a big discussion on that. Stay with us. There are many ways of assessing quality of education. Access is a big one. Quality is also important. But there's a huge gap, particularly in Ghana, between rural and urban access and also achievement. EdTech Monday today will be delving into using technology in education to bridge that gap. Of course, EdTech Monday is brought to you by the Mastercard Foundation in collaboration with MEST, and is on Channel 1 Television and on the City Breakfast Show on City FM. So today I have a pair of minds with a very rich background in education to help us think through how to use EdTech to bridge the rural-urban divide. So I have first and foremost a Deputy Director of the Ghana Education Service who is in charge of quality and access, Dr. Munawaru Ishahak. I'll tell you a few things about Doc as the program proceeds. So he, of course, is the Deputy DG for GES, in charge of quality and access. He has a Doctor of Economics degree from the Atlantic University, Honolulu, Hawaii, with a PhD in Social Administration from the University for Development Studies in Ghana. He also has an MPhil in Education Planning and a B.Ed in Psychology with Economics from the University of Cape Coast. Very interesting background. He attended the Nusrat Ahmadiyya College of Education, WA, where he had his post-secondary certificate A, before continuing in his journey. He was the Municipal Director of Education for Savelugu many years ago, and was also at one point the headmaster of Salaga T.I. Ahmadiyya Senior High School. His role in this current GES position brings extensive academic and professional credentials, and he's committed to strengthening the educational system, fostering partnerships between public and private sectors as well. Through his dual roles in public and private sector, he has become a recognized voice in educational leadership and development. Dr. Munawaru Ishaq, good to have you.
Thank you very much.
I've been looking forward to interviewing you for a long time, and EdTech has brought you.
Yes, please. I'm grateful that EdTech has brought me.
Finally. Also very privileged to have, for the first time on Channel 1 and also on the first time for the EdTech Monday series, Professor Chisara Peace Ngozi Ogbogbo. She is an Associate Professor of Applied Mathematics at the Department of Math, School of Physical and Mathematical Sciences, the College of Basic and Applied Sciences, University of Ghana, Legon. With a distinguished academic career, Professor Ogbogbo specializes in applied mathematics, contributing to both teaching and research in areas that advance scientific knowledge and practical problem solving. At the University of Ghana, she plays a significant and pivotal role in mentoring students, driving innovation in mathematical sciences, and promoting interdisciplinary collaboration across the sciences. She's committed to higher education, advancing mathematics as a tool for national development, and fostering and training and mentoring the next generation of scholars and researchers. Professor Ngozi Ogbogbo, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Amazing. So today we're delving into a very, very important subject. We want to start with the barriers. And Doc, because of your background, started school in WA, you headed education, T.I. Ahmadiyya in, is it Savelugu? Salaga. So you have the whole shebang. What are the biggest barriers rural schools face in accessing education generally and EdTech in particular?
Thank you very much. And I'm grateful to MEST and Channel 1 TV,
of course,
for this opportunity. The barriers to access begin with infrastructure. We begin talking, when we are talking about technology, before we get there, let me give a scenario that the last municipality I headed, when I showed the statistics, the municipal chief executive was looking into my face. We are talking about 40% availability of furniture and 60% non-availability.
Wow.
And people are looking for places to sit down, let alone talking about having electricity. I take this opportunity to bring this out, that I was lights out in Savulugu for 9 solid months, the whole office for 9 months.
No light?
No lights. And so sometimes we had to go out either to assembly to assess, or we had to go to Savulugu Senior High School to get support because of non-payment of lights.
Wow.
In that case, how do you wonder what happened at the basic schools? So electricity is a big issue for particularly the basic schools. When it comes to the senior high schools, it's about regularity. In fact, when I went to Eastern Region last week, they were pleading with me that prepaid is coming. And if prepaid comes, so many tons will run down. And so, I mean, as people who are privileged to be part of, we are implementing, but we are privileged to be part of those who make the policy. We have to look at electricity. Worst of all, the rural areas are heavily hit. When you go to a school and there are a few tabletop computers, desktops, and more than half of them are gathering dust because they were donated. And they are donated, they don't have the resources to maintain them to even last as long because the ventilation that is needed, not even the temperature. You're talking about they needing air conditioning, but I'm talking about ventilation. That should be enough to make the computers healthy. Before we come to talk about the connectivity, where a place that lights can go off frequently, it also disrupts any connection that you have, including internet service. We had the opportunity of government giving us some network at the district and some senior high schools. But because of lights off, it disrupted everything, even at the district level. And so the issue about poverty is an issue that shows its ugly head when it comes to the ability for people to hold meaningful phones that they can use to take advantage of technology. It's a critical area. I know there are issues or suggestions that we can come with. Secondary education improvement projects, while I was at the secondary school, had to bring in this iBox to see whether it can help to put materials on the system so that children with some few computers that we were able to procure, the children can learn those things. We are also still having a policy barrier as to whether senior high school, let alone junior high school students can hold phones. We have reached a point where we are reaching 30% of the argument or the debate around the use of technology.
Wow.
When you make tablets available to the children, it means we are beginning to agree that there's a point where children can use phones, children can use tablets. But it's still 30% of the argument because much of the time it is not going to be with them. The time it is with them, what can they use it for is the other argument, which would need to all be calculated into whether we are benefiting from technology or not.
So listening to you, we haven't even delved in technology, but there are many issues. Infrastructure, furniture, power, before devices.
That's right.
Right. So every Edtech discussion must take into cognizance these issues.
Yes, please.
That you cannot devise an Edtech solution without looking at the rural context.
Yes, please.
And because you worked in typically poor communities. So which means that for you, we must deal with some basics before we even get into the issue of devices. If I don't have a desk to sit on, I don't have electricity. I can't even use a phone, right? Because if I don't have electricity, how can I even have internet?
That's right.
So you're saying we need to delve with the basics first before I can talk about Edtech, correct?
When we talk about inclusiveness, generally people run to special education. But inclusivity is an angle of access.
Okay.
In my own language, if you look at access as only physical and material things, you'll be overlooking the importance of inclusion. And so the aspect that will let everybody to be involved, technology can answer that. If you reach a point where you invite app developers, solution providers that will look at the situation and ensure that one device can stand in to resolve a number of issues and also not depend on network, but offline, a lot of people can use, like we are able to use shortcode, which is that once you have average network to even send SMS, it is able to answer certain questions. What Momo is able to do is evidence of an important solution that technology has provided for the financial space.
Wow.
The last time, I'm a conservative, to be very frank, in changing. But last week, when I transferred money from my account into my Momo, I was excited by a loan. I was so excited because of fraud and other things. I don't easily change. Even myself, who is teaching technology, I become afraid. But when my banker told me we have done it, I left it there. Then last week, I gathered courage to do some letters. I said, wow.
So from your own bank account to your phone, you were able to bank yourself?
I was able to bank. And that means I have savings account. So I can do the 3 things depending on my situation. I can take part of my salary and see whether if I force it into, if I move it from my current account to my Momo. If I don't know how to send the 2 direct, but I can bring it to Momo and send it to the savings to account.
In your house?
Even as I sit here, if you allow me. So that is what the financial, and luckily, I'm grateful to the president and through the Honorable Minister for Education, he assigned me to represent the ministry as a council member for the Ghana Health Service.
Wonderful.
And they explain telemedicine, and they are working hard to see how they can take full advantage of it in resolving our health situations. It is the same thing. One of the biggest platforms we have in our country, and I know in every country, is education. Well, if you don't get that right, so even the examples we have in local solution on Momo and our own people working with telemedicine, then there is hope that we can develop a solution that will bridge the gap between the rural and urban areas.
Thank you so much for those insights. Of course, he's coming from basic and secondary, GES. You are the professor from the university. So from a higher education perspective, how can universities support innovation for rural learners?
Okay, so thank you for the question. And I know that when you say innovation for rural learners, we are coming from the Edtech thing, tech education, basically. And I want to say that universities, the purpose and big objective of universities is to train, to impart knowledge and shape minds, basically for nation building, for development of the country, where it finds itself, it wants to contribute. So yes, and we all know that the world we live in now is a digital, led one. So if people in the rural areas are left out, then it's as if they are not part of the globe, basically. So there's really a need to carry the technology to them somehow. They need to be part of what is going on. They need to be part of the world because they're actually part of the world. So having said that, the issue of the urban rural-urban migration is another thing that governments have been trying to deal with. So it's a great thought that people at the rural end should not be left out, because that would actually reduce this rural-urban migration. Because if you are right there in the rural communities and you can do basically what Doc is saying, you can do all your own transactions, you have digital skills to do your stuff, then you may not be in a hurry to jump to Accra, you know. So, and what can the universities do to help? You know, the universities can develop the curriculum, you know, various curricula around the Edtech thing. That can be, they can partner with the communities, you know, and deliver it. So yes, development of the curricula is one thing the university can do. Then the university can also help with the infrastructure, you know, and then use their knowledgeable minds to deliver, you know, to teach. Because, I mean, one thing is to have the gadgets and the infrastructure and the computers or whatever. Someone needs to, you know, show the rural dwellers how it should be used. So the university can actually also provide their knowledgeable human resources to assist with this. Then talking about grants, you know, sometimes universities have access to grants. So they can also have scholarships and endowments that would be based in some of these rural communities, where some of the rural children who are apt, you know, some children are very curious, they can pick up things, so they could get some of these scholarships, and then they will be trained right from where they are, you know, somehow using the grants that the university can get. There's a whole lot, you know. The university can also partner with non-governmental organizations, big players in the industry, MasterCard, Google, all of those, yes, they can partner with them to do this, because maybe they are already interested in this, and so the university can partner with them to have more robust outcomes from the effort. You know, so yes, a whole lot that the university can, even the policy thing that Doc is talking about. The university has always been known to be a big policy leader. So they can also lend their voice, you know, to shape policy, so that the people at the rural end over there are not left out in what is happening in the digital space.
So there's a lot you can do in
a whole
the
lot.
field: curriculum development, infrastructure, human resource, grants, and partnerships.
Yes.
Let's go to the streets and hear from industry people what they make of this rural-urban divide and how education technology can help bridge it.
The biggest challenge rural schools face in adapting Edtech, I would say, is the mindset, because most schools administration find it difficult to adapt because they are used to the old ways of doing things, handling administration and in the teaching. So when a new product or a new tech is introduced into the system, they find it difficult to adapt to it and also to avail themselves to learn. Tools and workshops that help bridge the gap between teachers and students, I would go for quality and high training for teachers. So Teachers Association should help teachers in the rural area have continuous training. With that, they are able to integrate the tech and AI into their teaching materials, which makes it much easier. And they are also able to accelerate the tech tools. Most times they are finding it difficult to know how to operate it. So with that, they are not able to know how to go about their things, especially when they have to do assessment or attendance or even their lesson plans. One key step I would suggest Edtech make accessible is partnering with NGOs and private sectors. So with NGOs are able to reach the rural part of Ghana much faster. Partnering with them, we are able to get more information, more data from them, and also build the trust between the schools and we, the Edtech companies, making them very open to give us their data, to work with them hand in hand, and to also give them much training to be able to operate with whatever they are doing. Not everybody is able to access a laptop, but a phone is accessible everywhere. So with Nikasama technology, we have a phone-based system where you can use it wherever you are, anytime and anywhere.
I think technology can improve access to education in the rural areas by making resources available for players within the rural space, children, and people in secondary cycle education, and even in tertiary, making resources available digitally. So if you have lectures recorded where students who are unable to travel to the urban areas can access these in the form of teaching and also learning, I think it plays a really good role for them to access educational materials. Another thing that I think technology can do to improve access is also the institution of ICT centers in rural areas where children can go and have the opportunity to use computers, right? In the rural areas, they may not have a laptop or a computer to one person, but if we have ICT centers, students can go there and have these resources, also access the internet for their benefit. So an EdTech product that I think is making an impact in rural education will be Meta School AI. So they record all the lectures within the GES curriculum for primary school and secondary school for students across the country, anywhere in Ghana, to access the learning materials. I think this is very revolutionary because students within rural areas who may not be able to gain access to second cycle institutions can use this to prepare ahead of time and before they access. And for those who access but are also lacking in certain materials like textbooks and all of that, can use this platform to also learn and be abreast with the standards of teaching and what is required for them to access assessments. The biggest barrier to adopting the usage of EdTech in rural areas, I think, is access to electricity and internet. And for some rural areas, they do not have electricity. And so even if there's an opportunity for them to use technology, they cannot charge their devices, right, to be able to access them. Others also do not have access to internet. So if they're supposed to take an assessment online, right, you've done teaching and learning using devices that are available to you, and you're supposed to take an assessment online and there's no internet there, how do you do it? For certain areas, they have solar-powered tablets that are able to watch videos on and learn. But if you're supposed to take an assessment, then you need internet. But if there's no internet in certain rural areas, then that is also a blockade in the roadmap to accessing education for people in the rural areas. My recommendation to policymakers to consider is partnerships that will help champion or help send electricity access and internet access to the rural areas. I know that governments globally are trying the best that they can, but this is a necessary step to be able to send EdTech or make sure that EdTech reaches those populations and make the impact that it's supposed to make. So partnerships to be able to send electricity and internet to the rural areas to take advantage of EdTech.
I believe technology can help improve access to education for in rural areas by increasing the body of knowledge for these children, what they're taught in the textbook, but they will get to know more of what is happening out there and their knowledge will be expanded. The biggest barrier I see is access to power or electricity, because a lot of these children in rural areas, they come from very interior areas. So you find that some of these interior areas are not connected to the national grids of their countries. Therefore, when they don't have power, then they're not able to access EdTech in one way or another. Even if they have gadgets, how are they going to charge those gadgets so that they can access educational materials using their gadgets? So I think access to power is an issue in these rural areas, especially those that are very interior. And if they get access to power, then access to EdTech or technology for educational purposes is made just a bit easier. I don't think current teacher training programs prepare educators adequately, because what I learned, especially this week during this ADEA conference, is that someone mentioned that a lot of teachers use textbooks as a Bible. So the education curriculum in Africa is very textbook based, and the moment you step away from the textbook, then you lose the educators. So there's need to diversify how teachers are being trained so that they can become even better trainers or instructors to children. And this will involve incorporating technology in the training as teachers. One recommendation for the policy makers would be, I think they should make it mandatory for teachers to incorporate technology in their training, and not just the normal technology, you know, learning how to use a computer, there's that, which is good, but they should also look at the emerging trends, the changing times, and try to move with the times, incorporate that. There's data science, they can incorporate an aspect of that. There's AI, they can incorporate an aspect of that, because we are preparing these children for a modern world that will need them to have these skills. So if we equip the teachers, or if we put in place measures and implement policies that ensure teachers are equipped with these modern skills, then they will pass them on to the children that they are teaching, and we will move forward, and we'll even see better and quality education in our continent, Africa.
So those were some voices from the Edtech market speaking about bridging the gap using education technology. Don't forget, Edtech Monday is brought to you by the MasterCard Foundation in partnership with MEST Africa. And this is part of MasterCard Foundation's Young Africa Works program. And this is the November edition, looking at bridging the rural-urban divide in education using education technology. My guests are Dr. Munawaru Ishahak, who is the Deputy DG for Quality and Access Ghana Education Service, and Professor Chisara Peace Ngozi Ogbogbo, who is an Associate Professor of Applied Math, University of Ghana, Legon. Let me come back to Doc. So let's talk about policies and frameworks, right? What policies and frameworks are being advanced to bridge the digital divide for rural education?
Governments, for some time now, have reflected, and based on the international involvement, we also have our own policies. Our education sector strategic plan is for 2018 to 2030 currently is an important area. Government, since 2015, developed an ICT policy,
Okay.
which looks into and allows various contributors and set up a framework that also allows private participation in the Edtech space. Because whatever that is not allowed by our law, then it means there will be no space for it. And so government has anticipated this, and the law, they are working hard to update it to ensure that it carries all the angles that come with it. Partners, private partners that can come in to provide solutions, then we'll review them. The implementers will review the, suggestions and solutions that will be provided alongside our public space. Then we'll work together to ensure. For instance, we had a delegation from Kenya, and we had a project that we are trying to work with, the Respect project. It is going to be managed by the Ghana Education Service. The server will be with us. We will allow private persons to provide solutions, because the radio station is an example of what can reach the poor man's home. The TV is a moderate source that can reach so many people, because I know how, I'm not a sports fan, but I follow you in your debates, I mean, as you do the discussion, along the roadside, we see how people gather around TV stations.
Yeah.
That should tell you that the classroom situation is there, all right. But beyond the classroom, if government allows that space from the policies that we develop with administrative guidelines, we will be able to get so many people to benefit from the technology that will be available. We can learn from how radio station and TV are able to reach so many people, regardless their, resource situation, to allow private participation. This Respect project says that the Respect platform is not going to be a competitor in designing websites, in designing solutions. It's just that we will verify whether you meet a standard. One, you provide free access to your program. But as people are going through it, it will generate some data. The resource will generate, like those who even do blog. I'm not an expert in it, but the point I'm making is that you do it as if it's free, you throw it out. As people run it, it generates resources. The Respect project will distribute to all those who contribute onto the platform. The policy has also allowed private participation. So what it means is that we are reaching out to the telcos to say that, please cut down on your data, reduce the charges on internet. I mean, for us to benefit, I have a professor here who takes economics alongside, which people take serious, but that is an aside for her. The elastic demand that will come, that telco, whether MTN or Telecel, those who showed up on the program, you reduce your data, you create space for, provide broadband. Because one of the things that creates a barrier between those that have and those that don't have is whether they have broadband that they can use to operate. So we work with them to reduce. As so many people come onto the platform, the little resources that will be, finances that will be generated will be large enough for all participants on that platform. So you have private participation, which is also allowed in our policy. And so those are the comments I want to make.
I love it. So there's an ICT policy, encourages private sector participation, and then you give a case study of the Respect project.
That's right.
And then you use the media as an example that because of the reach and the penetration of media, a lot of the government can use that to bridge the gap. And I think during COVID, the government tried this where some content was put on television, and then also there were offline devices as well as that. Let me come to the mathematician. So what innovative or STEM-focused interventions could empower rural learners?
Okay, so thank you for that, because like you had mentioned in my introduction, I'm big on STEM, especially the math component of it. So establishing STEM schools, I think the government should try and be intentional about taking the STEM schools to the rural areas. I think it's easier to establish those kind of things in Accra or, the urban areas. But government should decide that a certain number of the STEM schools would go to the rural areas. And they can start from there. And you find out that the children will also benefit from the STEM schools. And then there'll be a level playing ground for everybody, So that's one. Then projects like the M in the STEM project, which are initiated as head of maths department in the University of Ghana, and I lead that project.
Okay.
It's for girls. Okay, so it's something that we could do a bit similar to what I'm doing with this project. So it's a kind of teaching and mentorship project where girls from not very highbrow schools, so it's beginning to look like the rural thing, because my target is not the highbrow schools. They already have what they need. So the not very highbrow school girls are brought to us in the Department of Mathematics. So they are with us for 2 weeks. we teach, we expose them to applications of mathematics, we show them math games, and we try to make mathematics as interesting as possible to them. So there's a stay-in period when they are with us, and then we roll out the mentorship phase. So the interesting thing about this is that all the mentors for these girls are ladies who finished from the Department of Mathematics, University of Ghana.
Wow.
So some of them have finished the PhD, some of them are master students, and so on. So we allocate each girl to each mentor after they've done the stay-in. And so they are followed up. And we want to see them come into the university to study a STEM course. So there could be an extension of this because we just have 15 girls. We started this 2 years ago, and we are hoping that it will blossom, it will extend to other regions. Right now, we are just at the periphery of Accra, similar to the rural thing. So we take this, we can expand this. The government can do something like this, a project, you know, that will go right to the rural areas.
But what's the name of the project?
M in the STEM.
M in the STEM.
Project.
The math in the STEM.
Exactly, because the M in the STEM is mathematics.
Mathematics.
Good. So M in the STEM project for girls.
Amazing.
So when we take it to the rural people, like we are saying, it won't be about girls anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's all the rural kids. We roll them on this program. So we can bring them out. So that's the idea. Like these ones, we bring them to the university. They spend just a couple of weeks, and then they go back and we continue mentorship. Okay, so something like that, something similar could happen where the rural kids are given the opportunity to come out, you know, to somewhere, you know, it could be worked out. So they are gathered somewhere, they are taught. This time around is Edtech purely. It's not basically math like what I'm doing with the MS STEM. So they are taught and then they go back and then they are mentored. And that is where the policy on accessibility comes in.
Okay.
For example, the girls' mentorship happens online. So there's now a need to also provide online facilities for these children as they are mentored. And trust me, it's very exciting for them when they can come out, be exposed to certain things, and then they go back and continue being encouraged to stay on board. So I think that is one thing that can be done. Then there's this low-cost you know, STEM kits that are made from, you know, local materials.
Okay.
Yeah, it can be supplied to these children. And trust me, the children in the rural areas are as curious as the ones we have here. So when you provide them with such kits, they would work with it. It doesn't have to be sophisticated gadgets, but, you know, you give them a lead on how to use these things, and they can use it.
Amazing.
Okay.
They
can use it.
This is very interesting indeed. So you are bridging two gaps. You are bridging the gender gap for predominantly urban, but when you extend it to rural areas, also bridging the rural-urban divide using some of these things. Let's talk about partnerships briefly. Doc.
The sense that whether it's between countries or between a country and organization. And the current system, we had an opportunity for us to meet in Bole, Addis Ababa, last 3 months or 4 months. It is to explore the space. And we had a roundtable discussions about partnership. That is what brought about the Respect Project. We have the foundation coming from the United States of America. The gentleman worked with Microsoft, and he understands that there is so much you can do using the opportunities that he learned. And he has a representative for Africa, John Kimoto, who actually came around for us to do a discussion as to how the idea of using technology, not reducing learning poverty. How can we answer that question? And so it is to answer the question you have asked today that we need to break the barrier. That is the approach that we all came to. We would having a discussion in China next week to look at the contribution that China can make. And then some of us will be privileged to be around to see what is it that we can work with those who will listen to us using the UNESCO teacher education platform. And so you have those that are partners and not necessarily NGOs, and those that are NGOs that come in, and then individuals that will come. And then we will see whether if we have the resources that the China government or organization will use to support some of our young people who are coming up. So you are looking at one thing, like using one stone to kill many birds, because the young people who are coming up, they are developing these solutions. They are themselves employed, then supporting them to be able to have a bigger platform to practice what they are doing will mean engaging some other young people or experienced hands to come along. And so whether as government to government or the private people, individuals that are coming on, like I said, between Ghana Education Service, TVET Service, and others within the country relating with an organization called the Jim Foundation, Speaks Foundation, coming out with a Respect Project. The aim is to not just come and play and go, but to come and create a platform that individuals and organizations can come and contribute to help us break the barrier between the urban and rural. And the one key thing that is useful about that arrangement is that where you go to do assessment, you can teach along. It can also help us to do our management issues. From one spot, you can monitor. Where you have no data, where there is no network, you can still work with it. And immediately you come into network, it will load the material. So for both teaching and for administration. And so these are the possible areas that we are using partnerships to take advantage of technology.
This is still Edtech Monday, and we are discussing using Edtech to bridge rural-urban divide in access and quality of education. My guests are Dr. Munawaru Ishahak, who is the Deputy DG for Quality and Access, Ghana Education Service, and we have Professor Ngozi Peace Ogbogbo from the University of Ghana. She's an applied mathematician, focuses on the M in STEM with some very interesting thoughts. We're going back to the streets to hear more on how Edtech can bridge the rural-urban divide in education. Stay with us.
One of the Edtech solutions that I believe can work in rural Ghana is low-cost solar devices that has local languages infused in them that could be used in teaching children in rural Ghana. Technologies can help rural students connect to several international opportunities. There are ways where students can actually connect and participate in international events, especially in the education world, where they can join exhibitions and learn about various international universities. There are also opportunities where rural children can participate in different competitions and different international exams, such as the IELTS, the TOEFL, that seem to be part of the requirements that they need to have if they want to explore study abroad opportunities internationally, or should I say globally. There are several lessons that Ghana can learn or embrace Edtech in bridging the educational gaps. For me, I feel that if the focus is on the teachers in these rural communities, teachers need to be trained because they are the ones that are able to impact the children. So if we're able to provide them with the needed training and development and the skill and the know-how of using certain technological equipment, they will be able to train the children and bring them up to speed so they can be competitive internationally.
At Meta School AI, we have digitalized the whole curriculum such that students are able to learn from anywhere in video. We have over 7,000 rural learning students on our portal, And what we do to keep and make sure that these students are not left behind is that we go to where they are with our solutions to show them the impact of our solution, and then we're able to get them to sign up. The main challenge we are seeing in terms of distributing our learning solutions to rural areas is access to internet connectivity. So we have to really innovate around this. And one way we are trying to bridge this gap is that we are making our learning content available even through a phone call. Through a phone call, students can call our AI tutors and just talk to our AI tutors just like they are talking to a real human tutor. And this way, we're able to really bridge that gap.
We realized that one of the barriers to the participation of students into these Olympiads is getting access to study materials and resources. So we have our Edtech product called the Gifted Platform. It is a platform where students can go on to connect, to compete, and to learn about Olympiads. So yes, that is what we do. We are providing opportunities for students both in the public and the private schools, in underserved communities and urban communities, to be able to get access to resources, to be well prepared for the Olympiads. The biggest barrier to adopting EdTech in remote areas has to do with the digital infrastructure in our school systems. Most of the schools and public sectors do not have basic computers and internet connectivity to adapt the implementations of these EdTech products. One of the ways that EdTech initiatives can be made available to remote areas or underserved areas is by making these initiatives offline, so that people in the rural areas where internet is a challenge will still have access to these resources that we are bringing on board. So one challenge that remote areas or rural schools have that EdTech can help solve is accessibility to materials that can be learned at their own pace. Students can take ownership of their own learning in and outside their classroom and be equipped enough to compete on a global scale.
Those are more voices from the EdTech ecosystem. This is EdTech Monday, your November edition with me, Bernard Avle, and today we're thinking through bridging the rural-urban divide using EdTech. My guests, a Deputy Director for Education at GS in charge of Quality and Access, and a Professor of Applied Mathematics. As we round off, Prof, I'm coming to you. What practical solutions do you think the continent of Africa, because of course rural-urban divide is not just a Ghana problem, right? Give me a practical solution you think the continent must prioritize to ensure that rural children are not left behind in the digital learning revolution that we see across the world.
Training of teachers.
Teacher training.
Very important. Because, in fact, the teachers in the rural areas, because the way it is I'm sure in other countries in Africa, like Ghana, like Nigeria, Kenya, and around, most teachers want to stay in the urban areas. They want to be, you know, when you send a teacher to the rural area, there's all sorts of complaints and all that. So there has to be targeted training, you know, on the pedagogy of this whole tech thing. The teachers need to be given some short-time training, and it needs to be sponsored. Government has to be intentional. These teachers in the rural areas, we need to teach them also how to handle these things. And trust me, teachers in STEM areas are it could be very innovative. What I was talking about, the kids and so on, when the teachers are given some kind of heads up and extra, you know, training along these lines, they can do a whole lot with the children. So for me, that's a clear path to go. Train the teachers, sponsor this training. Let it not just be part of what they are expected to do. You know, give them some good heads up along the tech education thing, and then we let them go.
Wonderful. So teacher training is critical. You are a trained teacher, and then you've gone through to become a deputy director. So you've seen it all, done that. Do you agree that teacher training must be prioritized across the continent, and what else can you add?
To continue from that point, before I add just one little thing, is that teachers must embrace digital tools and inclusive methods. Because, I mean, at the point of education and no business, it's about integration. we cannot have difference between what people know and what we do. And we need to be able to do that successfully, to think that the knowledge is useful. And what we are saying is that teachers should not only should not only learn and get themselves involved in the use of technology, but to be able to meaningfully integrate it in our education for the benefit of our children. I want to also indicate that our policymakers must fund inclusive technologies and enforce accessibility. If you are running a system that is fair, it is incumbent that you check to see those who are not doing well. And that's the enforcement of accessibility. You cannot keep everybody running at the same momentum. You must make efforts to go behind, to provide support to those who are behind, to be able to catch up. And that is the only way that inclusiveness become a moral obligation on the system.
Big words to end the discussion. Fund inclusive technology, enforce accessibility, come up with meaningful partnerships, train teachers better, prioritize mentoring as part of the solutions, and by all means, do your best to improve the basic infrastructure. They must have access to desks, electricity, and of course, let's use the media to send the message deeper across the country. Those are some insights we gathered from this very exciting edition of the November Edtech Monday, which focused on bridging the rural-urban divide in education using education technology. My guests, Dr. Munawaru Isahak, a Deputy Director General for Quality and Access Ghana Education Service, and Professor Chisera Peace Ngozi Ogbobo, who is an applied mathematician, Associate Professor of Applied Mathematics from the University of Ghana. Edtech Monday is brought to you by the MasterCard Foundation. This is part of their Young Africa Works program in partnership with MEST Africa. Thank you so much for watching the November edition. My name is Bernard Avle. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.